Okay, thanks very much everyone for joining us this morning. My name's Tim Moore. I am a policy officer at Liverpool City Region Combined Authority, and one of the things I'm responsible for is the Kickstart programme, which is a key element of what we are going to be talking about today. Kickstart is one of a number of programmes recently announced by the government to try and support businesses, organisations and young people throughout the pandemic. It's garnered a huge amount of interest from potential employers and participants. Thanks so much to Professional Liverpool for putting the event on today so we can understand a little more about it and how people might go about getting involved. Joining us today, we have Joanne Abraham, who is a Managing Director at the Learning Foundry. We have David Matthews, who is Workforce Development Manager at City of Liverpool College. We've also got Joe Keegan, who's an employer broker at the Combined Authority. And colleagues will be able to talk a bit both about Kickstart and about any other opportunities and programmes that the government are bringing forward to support people. Just very briefly, before I allow colleagues to introduce themselves in a bit more depth, at the Combined Authority, we are very keen to see Kickstart work for employers and young people in the City Region. And what we've been trying to do is bring together interested parties with the Department of Work and Pensions locally to try and understand a bit more about the programme, provide a two-way dialogue and convene and cohere a consistent approach so that all people involved get the best out of the programme. We hope at some stage to be able to provide potential employers with a landing page or information about who they might choose to go with us as a gateway or representative body, and there are a number of those available. As a Combined Authority, we have no particular preference over who employers choose to go with. We just want to do what we can to make sure that the fit is right. And again, I know that a couple of colleagues with us today are looking to play that role themselves. So that's a bit about myself and where the Combined Authority fits in this sphere. Now happy to ask Joanne and David to introduce themselves. Start with David and then Joanne, please.
Hi guys, yeah, my name is David Matthews. I'm the Workforce Development Manager for City of Liverpool College. My job is to build relationships with businesses to find training needs and also create jobs for a numerous amount of people and basically develop Liverpool as best we possibly can. The reason why they passed me over to myself to talk about the Kickstart is because my company and other companies are dealing with this. It's a fantastic scheme that the government has set up that we would like to try and implement with so many different businesses. So if I tell you a little bit about the scheme, so the Kickstart is created to give work experience to people that want to get into different sectors or even universal credit. So they have to earn universal credit. And what happens there is that if they're between 16 and 25 years old, and the government will pay 25 hours a week for 6 months minimum wage for age. That will give that individual the experience they need in that certain sector. For example, we all know, especially with lockdown happening today, there are quite a few sectors like hospitality, entertainment has basically gone, and these people don't have the experience to move over to a different sector. For example, I don't know, engineering, construction, business administration, digital, so on and so forth. So this gives them the opportunity to actually gain that work experience. So after that 6 months, they'll actually have new skills that they can implement and gain a new career in a new sector. It also supports and helps businesses because some businesses out there, as you know, don't have the financial funds to hire new people, but they need those new people in, especially coming up to Christmas and also the new year, to expand their business so they get that stability back. So they actually get a member of staff there that they can actually use with their wages being paid for each for 25 hours a week. So it does last for 6 months. Each individual hire that they actually have up to a maximum of 30 they can receive a grant of £1,500 for. Just to let you know, this grant is used for training purposes, is used for things like uniform, administration, to try and avoid the costs to the business for hiring someone, because we all know that when you do hire someone, there is a cost involved actually just getting through the door, and that's what that £1,500 for. How to apply for it, you have to go through a gateway if you don't have the maximum of 30 people. So gateway companies like myself and Joanne, we actually will apply for that for you and get a group of companies together to reach the maximum of 30, because you need to have 30 to apply. We also do things like training packages in place. Joanne will go on a little bit more about what she can do, but we can use things like AEB funding, so that's adult education budget. Anyone who actually earns under 18,600 in the Merseyside area can go and do level 1 to level 2 training funded by the actual government. One of the things that we're putting in place is digital marketing. Also, business administration is quite a big thing at the moment when it comes down to Kickstart. So we've introduced things like Microsoft specialist training, and that gives them things in training in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It's actually worth up to 750 quid, but we can provide that funded. So you can see that we're trying to support the Kickstarters in there and try and give them the best ability to, 1, get the work experience, 2, get the qualifications, and 3, after the work experience is done, gives them the best opportunity to then find permanent work or work with that company. We do have some statistics, and actually Joanne is actually the specialist for this, so I'm going to pass over to Joanne. She's going to tell you about the statistics and the facts and figures about the actual Kickstart scheme.
Brilliant.
There we go. Thanks very much. So I'll bring Joanne in a sec. So I should have said at the beginning, if you do have any questions, if you could use the Q&A system to ask those, and we'll do our best to get them answered. Joanne.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Jo Abraham. I am Managing Director of the Learning Foundry. So I'll just start by telling you a little bit about us. The Learning Foundry are a not-for-profit training provider, and we are based in the heart of Liverpool City Centre. The Learning Foundry are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Regenda Group, which is a social landlord with a mission to support local communities and to create opportunities for local people. So any money or funding that comes into the Learning Foundry is used purely to help local people and businesses to achieve their full potential. We're really passionate about making talent shine. We meet hundreds of young people every year. The young people we meet, they come from different backgrounds. They have their own story, their own starting point, but we all know every young person's got their own race of life to run. We work relentlessly to give those young people the skills, knowledge and behaviours to run the best race they can. The race of their life is usually racing into employment with businesses like yourselves, where they can use the skills, knowledge and behaviours that they've gained to support your business to achieve its business goals. I think we all know, don't we, and these statistics will come as no surprise to most of you, but just a few statistics that I've been telling local businesses about lately. Youth unemployment has risen to over 13% since COVID happened. That's compared to 4% across all age groups over the UK. And in the first 3 months of lockdown, half of eligible 16 to 24-year-olds were placed on the furlough scheme. At least 20% of them are now unemployed. And more than 500,000 young people are claiming jobless benefits more than ever before, and before COVID. We know that this economical crisis is going to affect young people's employment chances more than any other age group. But we also know the significant impact that COVID and lockdown and social distancing measures have had on your business. So as Dave mentioned before, ourselves and the City of Liverpool College are acting as Kickstart intermediaries. And what we want to do is we want to help you to draw down the wages of young people for 6-month places and provide you with that financial support to help a young person to help your business. The Kickstart scheme is fantastic. We've partnered up with some key businesses across the region so far, the likes of Liverpool Football Club, local housing associations, and like Dave said before, as well as helping to support you to claim back the wages for those young people for up to 6 months. There's also a £1,500 set up support and training cost available. So Dave mentioned about the range of training programmes that the City of Liverpool College can offer, which are absolutely fantastic. And the Learning Foundry offer quite a similar package of supporting you. So if you need to fund uniform, a DBS, a laptop, or if you wanted to deliver some training to them, you wanted the Learning Foundry or the City of Liverpool College to deliver some training for young people, we can help you draw down that £1,500 from the DWP to cover those costs. It's totally a win-win situation because you're getting some resourcing to help build back better, and the young person is getting a fantastic opportunity and the skills, knowledge and behaviour. So after the 6 months, they've got experience and skills on their CV to help them in a post-COVID world to achieve their fullest potential. I'm also going to tell you as well why we're on the call today. In addition to the Kickstart scheme, again, I urge you to look at the City of Liverpool College's website, look at the Learning Foundry's website. We're both fantastic organisations acting as intermediaries to support you to bring a young person into your business and get that financial backing. But if it's okay, I'm going to spend 2 minutes as well this morning just telling you a little bit about some other financial support bonuses available for you to recruit and support apprentices. And then I think you're also going to hear from Joe Keegan as well, who will tell you a little bit more about some of these things. So in June, I'm sure we all sat, didn't we, and we all watched the telly where the Chancellor spoke about the range of support packages available. We heard him talk about the Kickstart scheme, which is absolutely fantastic for 16 to 24-year-olds claiming universal credit. But in that same announcement, he also spoke about apprenticeship bonuses for businesses to be able to recruit young people and give them an opportunity. So you'd be sitting here today deciding whether the Kickstart scheme is right for you. If it's not, you might want to explore the opportunity of recruiting a young apprentice. Funding available from the government includes up to £3,000 if you recruit a young person aged 16 to 18 or 19 to 24 who have an education healthcare plan. That funding is drawn from a range of places to make up that £3,000. But again, both Dave and myself, our job is to hide the wire and then turn all that confusing language into plain English for you and make sure that you can draw down the maximum amount. So if you are looking at hiring an apprentice, aged 16 to 18 or 19 to 24 with an education healthcare plan, up to £3,000 of support is available for you. If you recruit someone aged 19 to 24, there is a £2,000 bonus available, and recruiting someone aged 25 plus, there is a £1,500 bonus available for you. The individual must have started employment with you between the 1st of August 2020 and the 31st of January 2021. Just to give you a bit of an example of the programmes that we offer, the City of Liverpool College offer apprenticeships in construction, engineering, gas, refrigeration, etc. So if you're on this call today and you're thinking, I would really like to employ a young person to go through a gas apprenticeship, Dave is your man and he will be able to provide you with all of the support to get a vacancy, match it to a great young talented person and get them within your business undertaking that apprenticeship, and Dave will also help and support you to be able to draw down those funds. The Learning Foundry offer apprenticeships in a wide range of programmes such as business admin, customer service, dental nursing, early years and childcare, housing, health and social care, and management programmes. And I'm sure we both offer a range more, so just have a little look at our website. Don't worry too much if you're sitting there saying, I don't know if that apprenticeship is right for my business. you can always give one of us a call, and we will literally free of charge, we'll meet with you, and what we can do is we can chat all of this through with you, and most importantly find someone to come into your business, and whether that's a Kickstart funding that supports that, or apprenticeship grants that support that. Like I said before, we'll hide all of the wire, and our job is here is to make it as easy as possible for you. And just before I hand over to Joe Keegan, again, if the training you need cannot be offered by us, we'll still support you, because there are great partners like Joe and the Apprenticeship Hub, who we will pass you on to and make sure that you're well looked after. The main thing for us today coming on this call was to let you know that there is funding, there is grants available, and as your business is going through a really tough time and you're wanting to build back better, we're here to support you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joe. I'll bring Joe in to give us a quick overview of what's available in his role. I'm conscious we're already getting a couple of questions coming in, which is great. So if we hear from Joe, and then maybe open up the questions to colleagues to start the discussion. What I would say is that if there are any questions or detail that we aren't able to give an absolute concrete answer to now, either myself or panellists will go away and try and get an answer, and we'll feed them back to Professional Liverpool for you. So Joe, come in, and then we can get the wider discussion started.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning, everybody. My name is Joe Keegan. I'm the team leader for the employer brokerage team, working across both the Liverpool City Region Combined Authority and the growth platform now. A number of people may have heard of the growth platform, and of course, moving forward, you'll hear more about them. So my role is to manage the team of skills brokers that we have across the city region. So we're a small team, but we are engaging with lots and lots of employers. And the reason that we're there is to provide impartial advice and guidance to employers around skills and apprenticeships. So if anything relates to skills or apprenticeships across the city region, of course, the 6 local authorities within the city region, do my best to try and remember all 6 of those, but running through them: Sefton, Liverpool, Halton, Wirral, Knowsley and St Helens, cutting across that roughly 1.4 million people within that region to support them around skills and apprenticeships. As Joe mentioned and Dave mentioned, obviously there are training providers out there to support employers delivering the training that's actually needed by employers. My role and my team's role is to provide that impartial advice and guidance about, you know, what funding is available, what training is available across the city region. And I think it's also been mentioned earlier about demystifying really the whole skills landscape, because it can be quite complicated. So, you know, we've heard mention of apprenticeships, we've heard mention of adult education budget. Within the combined authority, we've also got a small pot of money. Say small, it's 1.1 million at the moment. It's likely to be 3.4 million when we get into early next year. And that's to support employers with skills or training needs which don't fit into any other funding pot. So it is what we call a pot of last resort, okay? So it's called Be More. And essentially, if there's a skills need with an employer that isn't AEB funded, isn't learner loans funded, clearly isn't an apprenticeship, then we can provide part funding towards that training need. So really, my role is to work with employers to ensure they understand what funding is available out there, and also to understand the breadth of the offer across the Liverpool City region. Clearly, we have lots of training providers within the city region doing a fantastic job in terms of supporting employers. Sometimes, though, we do recognise that there are what we call gaps in provision, and that means we can't identify a training provider within the city region who delivers the skills needs that employer needs. So we may have to go a little bit further afield. We don't want to. We want to keep as much as we can within the city region, and clearly we're working closely with our training provider partners to do that. Key things around apprenticeships. I know Joe's just mentioned there about the incentive funds. That's really important. So clearly, if anyone's looking to take on an apprentice, there is incentive money available for them to take on apprentices. One just quick mention around Kickstart and apprenticeships. I was on a call yesterday with the SFA, and I don't know if colleagues know this yet, but apparently if employers take on a Kickstart employee and then move them onto an apprenticeship, you know, they can then pick up the incentive funds for that employee. Okay. Now, it's not going to have much of an impact at the moment because it's likely that the first Kickstart placements aren't going to be until, you know, certainly this month or moving towards the end of the year. So, you know, if it's a 6-month placement, those incentive money at the moment, that incentive money at the moment will run out on the 31st of January. Okay. But, you know, let's hope, and it's a big if this, if the government manages to extend the incentive funds, you know, further past the 31st of January, that's a real opportunity then for employers to move their Kickstart employees onto an apprenticeship and pick up the incentive funds. Okay, it is a big if. It's not there yet, but talking to the SFA yesterday, they said there's been a change in the funding rules, and currently you can move somebody onto an apprenticeship from Kickstart placement and pick up the incentive funds. As I say, my role is very much impartial advice and guidance. If anybody wants to have a conversation with me or anyone, a member of my team, then, you know, my details will be made available, I'm sure, after this call. And clearly, we're working very closely with training providers to make sure that everybody understands what we do and how we can work more closely with them, both on Kickstart, both on apprenticeships, and clearly, because the Combined Authority is responsible for adult education budget now, on AEB. Okay.
Fabulous. Thanks very much, Joe, for that overview of what's available, and thanks to everyone for input. We've got some questions coming in, so I'll do my best to direct them. We've got some in the Q&A and a couple in the chat. First one is from David Lawrence, Peter Lawrence, saying we're quite a niche market and looking for 2 people in whom we can invest. Are we too small for this? Dave, is that something you're able to have a go at answering?
No, no one's too small. Make it very, very simple. That's why you go through a gateway like us, because even if you may need to have, say you take on 1 or 2 people, there's going to be another 30 or even more companies out there that need to have 1, 2, 3 people, and we put them all you guys into a big group. In the group, it doesn't mean that each individual one has to be on the same sort of role. It can be individual roles, and we can put the training towards it, invest the actual time into them. But you just need that 30 barrier. We're over that anyway at the moment, so it doesn't matter how small you are. We can still provide that service for you. So don't worry about that at all.
Okay, thanks very much for that. I'll go to some that are in the chat now. We've had a question from Paul Jameson asking, do we need to take prospective employees from 1 supplier, or can we advertise 2?
Yeah, do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, Joanne, if you could, that'd be great.
Fabulous. Okay. So the answer is different depending on if you're going to recruit an apprentice or a Kickstart candidate. If you're looking to recruit an apprentice, you can advertise your vacancy with a range of training providers. You can also advertise that vacancy yourself. You don't need to go through a training provider. You can bring in the training provider later. So for an apprentice, for an apprentice of any age, apply via your website, get in touch with a training provider, and either of us can put that vacancy on the National Apprenticeship Service website. When you get in touch with a training provider, they should speak to you and decide how you want that recruitment to take place and let you be as involved as you want in that process. If the vacancy you're talking about is through the Kickstart scheme, the way that happens is you will join an intermediary such as the Learning Foundry or the City of Liverpool College. We will take your vacancy, and what we do is we upload that to something called the DWP portal. Once that vacancy is uploaded to the DWP portal, work coaches, so Job Centre Plus work coaches, will then work with their customers and will match their customers to that vacancy. So again, we can help you to put that on your website, but when we put that vacancy on your website, we're always directing those young people back to their local Job Centre Plus work coach They are the people who will ensure that the young person is eligible and claiming universal credit, which is one of the requirements of the scheme. But again, once the DWP have done that match of that young person to your placement, you will be fully involved in the interview and selection process to make sure that individual is a great match for your organisation. I hope I've answered that, and if you anyone wants to talk about that anymore, we're all available, and we should all be able to answer any more questions either during this call or get in touch with us afterwards.
Fabulous, thanks, Joanne. That was hopefully a great answer. We've had a question from Brian Quinn to all panellists talking about, Joe mentioned the wide provision in LCR, how a panellist suggesting that these will be included in the rollout of provision of Kickstart. For example, has Greater Merseyside Learning Providers Federation been invited along or been involved? What I can say on that, Brian, is that I think we've been engaging Greater Merseyside Learning Providers in some of the work that we've been doing. We want as many organisations that could play a role to do so if that's appropriate and if they can help the scheme be a success. So as far as I'm aware from our side of things, they've been involved. But happy to hand over to other panellists to talk more widely about the question. Anybody want to come in on that?
Just to echo that really, Tim, obviously we're in the same organisation, so we're probably picking up the same things there. But yeah, clearly, we do talk to GMLPF quite a bit. We get them involved in what we do. Again, in terms of our role working with training providers, it's about that partnership role. And as you say, we want to ensure that we've got as many providers engaged in Kickstart as possible, and obviously working with the intermediaries as well.
Yeah, I'll just add in there, we're members of GMLPF ourselves at the Learning Foundry. Ian Lomas currently probably receives a daily call to me, or and probably just sees my name come up all of the time. So for us, where we would find that an individual or a business needed a particular training requirement through the Kickstart scheme with the £1,500, and it's something that the Learning Foundry aren't able to support with, the likes of GMLPF are who I would go to. So Ian or Pavlina, etc., can suggest a training provider that I can hook up with, and we will then use that funding to commission the training provider to provide that training for us. I think in the world of training providers and colleges right now, we've absolutely got to work collaboratively together to get the best end goal for the business.
Fab, thanks very much. Just seen one come up from Paula Marshall from Prince's Trust. They're saying they're going to be supporting a number of large national employers with wraparound support and employability skills. Happy to set up a call with any delegates if you feel we could support. So thanks very much for that, Paula. I think Professional Liverpool will be keeping a log of everything that everyone's contributed, and following the meeting we can start following those through. Have we got any other specific questions for the panelists? I've seen one from an anonymous attendee in the Q&A. I'm not sure we've necessarily got an answer to that, other than to take the opportunity to plug both the strong petrochemical sector, a number of people that work in it that we have in the city region, and of course the health and social care sector. Maybe colleagues representing that have a better answer on that one. Do we have any specifically related to government funding programmes? Got one from Hayley Ward here. Can you help me work out what's best for my business, an apprenticeship or a Kickstart placement? Really useful question. Shall I bring, David's got his microphone off, shall I bring David in on that one?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. So I was just about to jump on that one then. I saw it, I was like, that's mine. Any good training provider or government funded sort of advice service will, sorry, I'm in an office, so if you do overhear, I do apologise. But we do a thing called a training needs analysis. So we'll look into your company and we'll find out what is the training needs. I'll be honest with you, I've worked with companies in the past where apprenticeships are not right for them, not even Kickstart's right for them at the time, and we'll be open and say that, but we'll also say what is the actual right avenue for you to go down. So one big thing I would say to any company says, you tell us was the best one, we need open communication with you. So you need to tell us exactly what you want and also what your barriers are and also what your successes are. So then we can work out exactly what is right for you. And also basically that finances as well. That's quite a big key thing. If you can't support someone's wage at a time, then a Kickstart may be more likely to go down because you do get that wage back. But if you want to go down to an apprenticeship and you want someone a little bit longer term, so for example is in, I don't know, gas engineering, that's a 2-year long apprenticeship, then you should go for more towards the apprenticeship, and they would get a higher level grade sort of qualification. So the key thing for that answer is that we will do a training needs analysis with you and sit down with you, and we will work it out, and we will give you the best advice available and possible. Okay.
Great, thanks very much. Joe or Joanne, do you want to come in on that, or are you happy for us to move on to the next queue?
No, I think I'd just echo what David has just said. Please use your local training provider, your local college, the apprenticeship hub, etc. I think our sector is full of jargon and it's full of words and acronyms that nobody understands. We're here to turn it into Scouse, English, you know, whatever language you want that to be. I always think there's at least 5 factors that will impact on whether it should be an apprenticeship, a Kickstart, be more funding. And all I can assure you is we are qualified advice and guidance officers that can help the business and help the young person and find out what's best for you.
I'm going to apologise that I can't translate it to Scouse because, as you probably know, I'm a Southerner, so that would be quite difficult for me. So I do apologise about that, but I could definitely do it into English for you, so that's fine.
I was gonna say, Dave. I was trying to think of a word that I could say for you, but I didn't know if it was Cockney or not.
I can do Cockney or a bit of Essex or something like that. That's absolutely fine. I can, if anyone is around that up here, it's absolutely fine. I can translate it for you, but I can't do it in Scouse, I'm afraid.
I reckon you could have a go, Dave.
You probably can. I was just going to chip in and say, really clearly, yeah, you know, we all provide that advice and guidance, don't we? And understanding what the business need is crucial, isn't it? So, you know, is there a need for a qualification, and maybe that's the apprenticeship route. What we've also got to think about are the requirements for a Kickstarter. So, you know, the fact that they have to be on universal credit. So you may identify somebody that you're looking for that may have a bit more experience, you know, maybe been in a role before, but moving into an apprenticeship, or there might be an existing member of staff that could move into an apprenticeship. Because that's one of the key things that we pick up when we talk to employers, is that lots of employers still don't really understand what apprenticeships are. There are lots that do, there are lots that maybe don't. So trying to get across what an apprenticeship is, make them understand what it means for you as an employer in terms of your responsibility when you're taking on an apprentice. You know, and we know that apprenticeships from level 2 right through to master's degree level 7. So it's really picking out what the employer needs and then making sure you match that to the right funding stream, to the right pot of money, effectively.
Okay, thanks very much, Joe, on that. Really good question. Just come in, presumably about both Kickstart and apprenticeships and other funding. Is this all about hands-on positions, plumbers, engineers, etc., or does it apply to sales and admin roles? And because Joanne shook her head first, she can come in first.
Yeah, what I would say is it can apply to any role at all. So there are apprenticeship standards in hundreds, if not thousands, of sectors. So I know there's apprenticeships in market and sales, business administration, customer service. So there'll always be an apprenticeship that we can match that young person and that vacancy to. And again, on the Kickstart, I think what we're basically looking for is businesses who can give young people skills, knowledge, behaviours and experience to move into sustainable employment after the 6 months. So I think the best way to look at it is if a young person came into my business, or an individual of any age came into my businesses, am I going to give them great skills, knowledge and behaviours that they can move forward and achieve their career goals and their lifetime ambitions? And if the answer is yes, one of these schemes is absolutely right for your business and it's right for a young person, and that's where we will then come in and work out all of the detail on which standard, which training package, which pot of funding. So I think please just ask yourself, will this role provide a greatness for a young person? If the answer is yes, we'll sort the rest out for you.
Great.
Sorry, Tim.
Right.
Sorry, Tim, I do apologise jumping in there. With the apprenticeships, it's wanted to tell you about the range, what actually is available. You can go all the way up to master's degree level apprenticeships, all the way down to level 2, so equal to like a GCSE or equivalent to a GCSE. And when you say about the range as well, what's available, they are creating a puppet making apprenticeship. So you can see when I was trying to say to you that there is a massive amount of different types of apprenticeships available. That we will be able to link one to you. And one thing I will say is that if you do go on the website and you can't see an apprenticeship that interests you, still let me know, or still let Joanne know, or whoever you're actually going through, because some of these apprenticeships are named after certain titles but actually do mean other things. For example, furniture making is actually for kitchen fitters as well. So just let us know, and we're the experts. We can find it out for you. But the range is absolutely massive. Sorry Tim for interrupting you.
Can I just jump in as well, Tim, there, and talk about what might be relevant really is about how apprenticeships are funded. Employers on the call may have heard of levy paying employers and may have heard of non-levy paying employers, and that causes quite a lot of confusion for employers to understand first and foremost whether they're a levy payer or not a levy payer. And believe me, some people who are levy payers that I've spoken to haven't originally known that they're levy payers. So there's a bit of support, advice and guidance that's needed around that. And of course, Joe and Dave can provide that as well. My team have been working across the city region to identify, first and foremost, who those levy payers are. And those levy payers essentially are employers with a pay bill of more than £3 million a year. We've been working with those levy payers to move some of their levy funds, transfer those levy funds to other employers. And we've been quite successful at that. Quite recently, we've just tipped over into £1 million worth of funding that we've transferred or helped to transfer from levy paying employers to non-levy paying employers. Levy funds can only be used for apprenticeships. They can't be used for anything else. And you've got lots of large employers in the city region who literally haven't got the capacity to take on apprentices and use that funding. So as an example, I know Liverpool Football Clubs have been mentioned earlier, so I'll use them. So I've been working with LFC to open up their levy pot. As you can imagine, they've got a high wage bill. So given the players that they've got on board, so they can't literally use all of their levy funds. And we've started to build a relationship with them where they're going to start to transfer out some of their levy funds to other employers across the city region. The key thing about that is that if we hadn't have got involved in some of these conversations, those levy funds would have been lost to the city region. If an employer doesn't use their levy funds within 24 months, effectively they have a shelf life, then the Treasury takes those levy funds and that goes into central Treasury and could be used anywhere across the country. The key thing from the Metro Mayor was that we keep as much of that levy funding in this city region as we can to benefit employees in the city region. And that's why we've been doing this. So clearly, if you've got any queries around funding and apprenticeships, speak to Dave, speak to Joe, speak to myself. And if there's any queries around levy transfer and how you can tap into that, again, come back to me.
Great, thanks very much, Joe. I think people are also covering off the question earlier from Peter about how the funding and delivery model can be difficult to navigate, and can people help do that, and that's very much the role of colleagues here. So again, do please share details, and I know that everyone here will do what they can to make sure that people get the best advice and the most appropriate outcome. Question about the length of lead time for actually getting somebody onto the scheme who's not in the business. Is it possible to get them in before Christmas? I'll open that up in a sec. What I do know on that one is certainly in terms of Kickstart, that there is currently some frustration amongst colleagues applying about how long it's taking for some of these things to be turned around. The DWP are aware of that, and they are doing everything they can to try and speed that up, and that's something that we as the CA have certainly been feeding back to them. But just to kind of reassure colleagues, that's something we're aware of and something that we're feeding back. Joanne, wants to come in on that one?
Yeah, Tim, totally echo what you said around the Kickstart scheme. We are at the mercy of the DWP and grant agreements coming through for us intermediaries. With regards to apprenticeships, if you were looking at taking an apprentice on before Christmas, we should be able to turn that round for you as long as we're able to interview and you find that right candidate. Again, for example, give one of us a call today, we can have that vacancy live for you by tomorrow. We know at the moment there are lots and lots of people looking for employment at the moment, so we can do that vacancy matching, interviewing, etc. over the next few weeks and get them ready to start. With the Kickstart programme, bit at the mercy of DWP at the moment, so managing expectations, Dave might want to come in with a different answer, but the thing I'm saying to businesses is we're probably looking at a new year start. By the time the DWP opens the portal, we'll upload the vacancies and get the young people matched. So apprenticeships definitely, Kickstart scheme, I'm aiming for early next year.
David, have you got anything to add to that?
I mean, it just shows how popular the scheme is, that there's a backlog of applications. One thing I will say to you is that if you do want to try and get it before Christmas, get your application in now. Let one of us know and we'll put it in. We can't guarantee, but we will do our best to try and get it done. But it's like the same as what Joanne said, is that it is going to take time. You never know, next week they might invest a load of money into it and all suddenly all the applications are done. Magic. But we're trying to work realistically with you. By every time we get an application put through and we put the we apply for the funds for you, it's going to take a few weeks or even to a month for them to process the application, and then that's to advertise, and then we have to get someone in. So you can see where the backlog is on there. But if you do want to take full advantage of the actual scheme, then apply now instead of later. That's right.
Okay, thanks very much. I think we've covered that, unless Joe's got anything to add. Okay, really interesting question, certainly in the current context from Eric. I run my business from home, so if I was to take someone on, can they work from home also? Does anyone want to come in on that?
On the Kickstart scheme, yes, as long as they've got the equipment available, and that's where the £1,500 would come in. And also needs, of course, the support and guidance. We all know that we're remote working. Look at this webinar now. Most last year networking events for me was I was doing presentations in front of hundreds of people. That's not happening anymore. We're doing webinars. So the scheme will have to change as well with that. Like I said, that's what the £1,500 for. If they need a laptop, you can get that through the 1,500 quid. And supply it to the member of staff, and they can work from home. But the main important thing is that they do get the guidance, they do get that work experience, they do get that sort of mentorship from the company. If you can't supply that because they are working remotely and you don't know how to do that, contact us and we can help you support that. Or it might not be right for you at that time. So you have to always weigh about. But yes, the answer is yes, but just with a couple of side notes that needs to be confirmed before you can 100% go through with
that. Okay, thanks. I think that's a fairly clear answer to that one. Just to add to it, the feedback we've had from DWP is that, you know, consider these in the way that you would any other normal job, and if it could work in a normal job, for want of a better phrase, then the intention is that it should be able to work for Kickstart and to treat the two the same, if that's helpful. We got any further questions from colleagues at all? Doesn't look like we've got any more coming in on the chat. Have any panelists got anything to add that you don't think we've covered?
That's been fairly comprehensive, Tim. There's obviously a lot of support out there for employers, both through the training provider base and through the combined authority and the growth platform. So I would just encourage any employer that's obviously interested to just get in touch with any of us, because we're there to support you. You know, we're there to provide the support that you need to engage with both apprentices, Kickstarters, demystify the whole skills landscape, all of those issues around funding and where funding comes from and how you access funding. Just really urge anybody on this call to get in touch, really.
Okay, and with good timing, we've got a question from Leon. I really get lost on who to speak to. Where is best to start, please? Feel free to put your hands up, colleagues, on the panel.
Can I just jump in on that? I mean, clearly we're not training providers, but what we're there for is, as I said at the start, is to provide that impartial advice and guidance. So I would say if you're unclear as to where to go to, register with us. It's through the growth platform website, and I can provide a link. I can do that through Alex, and people can see how they can register. We're not there. We're not salespeople. We're not there to try and sell you courses. What we're there to do is to provide that impartial advice and guidance and make sure we get the best deal for you effectively. You know, the term broker is there for a reason. We're trying to make sure that you get what you need. So I'd always encourage people to come to us if they really don't know where to go. And it may be that we signpost you then to Dave or to Joe, and they pick up the training need with you.
With me and Joe as well, is that if you do come to, say, for example, me, and I can't provide that service, but I know Joe can, I will refer you straight over to Joe. For example, we've had a circumstance literally a couple of days ago where someone's come up to me and said they want childcare apprenticeships. We don't do them in the college, but Joe does. So I'm going to pass those details over to Joe. Then what Joe can then do is contact them, and vice versa. If someone comes up to Joe and says they want more constructional needs, then they go, okay, City of Liverpool College does that, and they pass them over to us. We're a community in the training providers sort of sectors. People think that we're trying to be sales. We're not. The whole pace of us is that if the general community in Liverpool or the Merseyside area grows, we'll grow with them. So we need to support each other to make that happen. So we do communicate very well. And like I said, Joe's got the impartial advice there. So if you do need that sort of third person to come in and say, look, am I making the right decision? Joe's team can actually confirm that to you or decline it. Sorry, Tim, for keep interrupting you. I seem to jump on your.
No, that's great. Trust me, people have come on this to listen to you guys, not me. So that, that's great. In terms of the websites from Dave Murphy, certainly in terms of Kickstart, if you go on the .gov.uk website, you should be able to fairly easily find some more information. And as colleagues have mentioned, if you want some more direct info, do please get in touch with them. I'm conscious that we seem to have answered most questions, and I'm now wondering whether or not to pass over that final question for colleagues or not to close the session. Feel free to answer it if you wish, colleagues, but if you don't, more than happy to close the session, let people go on.
That size of a horse.
That size horse from David. There we go. Okay, I think we're coming towards the end of things. So just from me, say thanks very much to our panelists. Massive thanks to Alex and everyone at Professional Liverpool, but most of all, thanks to colleagues for coming on and engaging with it. Do please keep in touch. If there's any outstanding questions, we'll try and get answers circulated via Professional Liverpool. And on a broader note, thanks to everyone for being involved and doing what we all share, which is to get a good outcome from these schemes for young people, people involved in businesses in the wider city region. So unless anyone else has got anything to say, I think happy to close the session there. Thanks very much, everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yes.